We want your vote here in Yorktown.
What philanthropic endeavors has the YDC or Yorktown Democratic Committee engaged in to help the community?
Well, one of the things that we did recently, Dominic, was there's a group in town called the Taconic Opera. Now, most people wouldn't think that a political committee would partner with an opera troupe. So the opera, the Taconic Opera, has been around for a long time, and like many other arts organizations locally in the state level and upward, I should say, have lost funding because we're in such dire economic straits that what's the first thing to go is the funding for the arts. So I had kind of learned from being about town that the town, because we've lost mortgage tax revenues and sales tax revenues, that the town obviously is cutting corners as well, which we have to do. And so they weren't able to be as generous with their funding to the opera. So I thought, in line with the mission to kind of partner with organizations that bring good to the community, that do good arts, culture, we should try to help them. So what we did was we spearheaded a fundraising drive where no dollars from the Yorktown Democratic Committee are used, because those are obviously earmarked for things that are related to strict politics.
Elections, whatever.
So what we did instead was we reached out to members of the community and said, look, this is a good organization. They do great programming here in Yorktown on our stage. A lot of people come into Yorktown to see their shows, so they're patronizing our businesses. It's good for Yorktown all around. So we did that, and we set a goal of $1,500 because we were matching what the town was giving, which isn't a lot of money, but in today's economic times, it's a lot.
Half a loaf of bread is better than no bread at all.
Exactly, and we are two-thirds toward the goal, so I need to raise another $500. So anybody out there who wants to contribute to the Taconic Opera, checks payable to the Taconic Opera, forwarded to Trish Mulligan.
So getting back to the community-based involvement, in a sense, it's really pushing that.
Yeah, because I think that's how we make a difference, and that's how we communicate to people that, kind of take away, for in the eyes of those that don't have a high opinion of the political apparatus and the system, to kind of connect with people, because we're local. If we can't connect with each other here, where can you? So very important to help.
And I think the connotation with politics is they see these, some of these campaigns and how they get kind of dirty and nasty and very, very sensitive towards, family members sometimes or whatever. And someone young coming up says, hey, wait a minute. I don't
what's this all about?
This is not what we're talking about, So I think that involvement shows that there's another side.
Yeah, and that's important, to really be a community
positive versus a negative
organization. Yeah.
Very good. So what have Yorktown's elected officials done to help residents and the town survive these difficult economic times?
Well, here in Yorktown, we have as Katie knows from coming to town board meetings, we have a strong Democratic majority on our board. We have a Democratic supervisor, and we have 3 Democratic town council persons.
That's Donnie Peters.
Jim Monorano, Lou Campisi, and Matthew Metz. We have a county legislator who's a Democrat, Mike Kaplowitz. We have Alice Roker, who's our town clerk. And if I'm missing anybody, they'll have to forgive me. But the board essentially.
The judges.
Lonnie Gilbert, one of our judges. The board took the lead on a number of issues when they saw that, like everyone else, things are really bad. So what do we do to help Yorktowners not face stiff tax increases? So they looked at a number of things, and Yorktown was a leader on saying, we're not taking pay raises. We're going to forfeit those, we're declining those, because that will help us achieve a cost savings. And what ultimately that did, in conjunction with paring down the budget, Don Peters, the supervisor, was able to reduce spending in Yorktown for the first time in 15 years. And he oversaw the consolidation of departments, which achieved greater cost savings.
You hear all the time, duplication of services or whatever. So if you've got one person that can run 2 things, let him do it. It's a savings to the taxpayers.
Exactly. And he worked in conjunction with our highway superintendent, Eric DiBertolo. I'll give him a nod, even though he's not a Democrat. They held the line on taxes. We had a very small tax increase compared to towns where you were seeing double-digit tax increases. We came in at I'll probably get the number wrong, 2.7, 2.37 or something in below 3.
Right.
So that was such a huge benefit to the people of Yorktown in that they didn't have to suffer more.
Did the town board have to any layoffs involved in that, or no?
There were no layoffs.
Because that's the biggest thing right now is not so much even, I mean, job creation, I think, is going to be, on a national level, a big thing of, I mean, look at all these kids that are graduating right now from college. And guess what? Their parents are being let go from their jobs. It's a bad situation. So I think job creation is one thing, but also the other side is holding the line on jobs that are out there.
Right, right. And I think they were able to do that through attrition.
Right.
And just smart managing and,
planning. So they were able to do that. Good.
Yeah, which is good.
So does Yorktown partner with the county and its neighboring towns in examining ways to save taxpayer dollars without sacrificing vital services?
We do. In fact, one of the things that our supervisor did recently, which made a lot of headline, was to look at, with a serious eye, in the consolidation of the Yorktown Police Department with the county's police department.
Right.
Not with the intention of actually having it happen unless all of the ducks were in a row, but working with the county to do a study.
Right.
To look at it. That's a very tough issue to look at because nobody's advocating getting rid of the Yorktown Police Department. Everyone loves the Yorktown Police Department, local policing and all of the good work that they do here. But Don had the courage to say, you know what, we have to look at everything, but I won't adopt any ultimate plan that loses any of our officers, loses their jobs, compromises services, safety, et cetera.
Yeah, I think I don't know if it was the media or if it was maybe the other side that tried to politicize it to make it look like he was trying to ram this down everybody to get it rid without even any referendum or anything from the Yorktown taxpayers.
Right, which clearly was not the intention, but I think you're right. I think one of the media outlets did pick it up the wrong way and presented it the wrong way.
Right.
But it takes courage to look at things, at issues like that, where change is hard.
Sure.
So we partner with the county in that sense. We also, as a town, I know, have talked to other neighboring communities and looked for and are looking at other ways to share services to save money. Our town board implemented the heating oil co-op, so that residents could come together and make a larger buying constituency and achieve cost savings that way.
As a matter of fact, I had Dr. Becker on, who's one of the council in in Cortland.
Oh, okay.
And he was the one who actually came up with that plan.
Yes.
And then
they were the leader on that.
Right. And then he told me on the show that night. He said, and I'm going to call Peekskill, I'll call Yorktown to see if
sharing. The whole concept of sharing.
Yep.
You have a good idea, pass it along.
And there were I know there are businesses in Peekskill, oil businesses. They joined on. They said that was one of the best things they ever came across.
Yeah, expanding their customer base with this controlled audience.
And what it did is it took the private sector, and then it took a municipality or the public sector, and it combined it with an idea, and it served both sides.
Exactly.
And it really was it was a lot of foresight into that, and it was really nice. And he didn't even think about it. That night we were talking, and he was like, that's right. He goes, I didn't really. When I came up with the plan, it was just purely to save, taxpayers, whether it's you're saving taxes on taxes or homeowners monies for oil or services, what's the difference? At the end, it's still cost savings.
Exactly, and that's what it's all about.
Sure.
Yeah.
So now question. So how did you get involved? Were you a district leader? What happened? How did you ascend so quickly to the top of the chair?
I like that.
Wow.
I ascended. I never looked at it like that in that way, Dominic. Thank you. I joined the Yorktown Democratic Committee back, I want to say it was in 94 or 5, and as a district leader. And I later served for about 2 or 3 years as the recording secretary for the committee. And then when I got involved in Don Peters' election efforts before he won 2 years ago, I was asked to start thinking about possibly taking over because our former chair, Joe Apicella, who had been here for 15 years, was leaving, moving on to bigger and better things.
Right.
There's ascendancy after this seat.
Right.
Good to know. So I liked Don. I liked his ideas. I liked his vision. And I thought, you know what? it's a good cause. It's a lot of work.
Sure.
But, you know, because I believe in the person who's heading the town